Welcome back to It Starts Now, the Happy Hour Finance and Business. My name is Stanley, and I got my man Danny, and he brought two other guests here, and we're going to talk about everything that has to do with real estate and the startup and the struggles. I'm so excited about this one right here because, number one, we got three people that can verify that there are struggles, but there's upsides to it. And there's certain things that you have to overcome, and there's certain things that, you may have to take a couple of punches before you get to where you need to get to. So before I even dive in, please welcome everybody. Give them a good round, and I appreciate you guys stopping by. This is going to be awesome. So let's start with Danny. Danny, please introduce yourself.
What's going on, guys? My name is Daniel Dorcena. I am a real estate agent with Net Seekers International. I'm happy to be here.
All right. My name is Emmanuel Jeanty. I'm with Keystone Realty of Greater New York. Born and raised in Brooklyn. Nice to meet y'all.
My name is Emmanuel Jeanty, real estate salesperson with Ivey North, born and raised in Brooklyn as well, and I'm excited to talk about the good and the bad of real estate, man.
Well, you know what? Let's start with you. Because right away the excitement is a little contagious. Tell us. I know you started from 2015.
I did.
All right,
All right.
Elaborate on it.
So the way I got into real estate was because I was looking to make some extra money, right? Looking to make some extra money. Reached out to my mentor as well as a family member. I was like, yo, I see you making this real estate money. Like, how do I get in? How do I get involved? So he advised me and he told me, go out and get your real estate license. So I studied for it. Maybe took me about 6 months to complete. Got my real estate license. Got licensed in 2015. Immediately after, I started tapping into, my immediate network, started letting people know, like, hey, listen, I'm involved in real estate. Yeah. This is what I'm doing. What's up? You know what I mean?
Show me some love.
Show me some love. You know what I mean? I got licensed in May of 2015, and I would say maybe about 2 to 3 months later, locked in my first client. Just to jump ahead a little bit, we didn't close.
Oh, wow.
We didn't close. First deal didn't close. I in a sense, I could say that that deal taught me a lot. It taught me a lot, man. Long story short, I had, my client, she had a very difficult time understanding the climate of the market at that time. Submitted an offer. My client was a little unreasonable. There were multiple offers on the table, and I would say maybe about 3 weeks into the deal, seller's agent reaches out to me, and she's like, "Listen, we're going with somebody else."
Wow.
Going with somebody else. She's like, "Your client is asking for this. She's asking for that. we're gonna have to snatch this deal from underneath you, man. We're not happy with it."
Wow.
So for me, that was a very humbling moment.
That could have destroyed you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, starting off, that could have really, because a lot of people don't receive that kind of setback as a learning lesson.
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I almost cried, man, because from the moment we went into contract, the contract was fully executed, right? And at that moment, I also realized that, hey, listen, just because the contract is fully executed doesn't necessarily mean that the deal is in the bag. Right. So I'm already counting the money. I'm like, all right, cool. The house is for $469. I'm getting, at that time it was 1%, right? It wasn't much. It was 1%. But I'm already calculating how much money I'm gonna walk away with.
Right.
And then to hear 3 weeks later that I'm not getting, that money, it was tough.
Yeah,
it was tough.
Hurt, man. I can feel it.
Hurt my feelings.
Like to this day, right? How about you? Was it something similar?
Not quite. So I started real estate around last year, October. I jumped into it because I was actually laid off from my previous job. I worked in a completely different field. I was doing nonprofit work. And I was laid off around, I would say, March. And then COVID was happening. So it kind of gave me a moment to reset and pause and just say, okay, what's next for me? I had a friend who was working for the brokerage that I'm at now, and he was doing pretty well, even during COVID. Like, he was working and he was making phone calls. He's out every day. Like, how are you outside and it's COVID? I'm like, how you still going to the club getting bottles? I'm like, oh gosh, like I got to find out what's going on. So I asked him, you know, I said, hey, just put me on to, like, you know, what are you doing? He told me I'm doing real estate, and he told me about the brokerage that he's working for, and he basically laid out the model for me and told me, hey, if you want to hop on, like, you can do this now right away, because Keystone Realty, basically their model is it's all in-house. So they work with the investors, they have their own lenders, they have their own attorneys. So it was kind of just laid out for me already just from the start. So I started out in October and I got my first deal in December. And even though the client, he didn't speak full English, I networked, and I had a lender who spoke very fluent Spanish. So the deal went pretty smooth. I mean, there was a few hiccups, I can say, but the deal was direct, so I didn't have to work through another agent to find out, you know, are funds available, when is the appraisal happening, things of that nature. It was pretty smooth throughout. The deal happened to be about like a month and a half, and I got actually $20K from that deal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Of your first deal?
First deal was $20K. It was a new construction property, fully renovated. There was no worries about, you know, somebody still living in the house after. It was a pretty smooth process. But I do say that I definitely learned a lot from it. Just understanding, same way he said, not to count your money, because there was a point in that deal where halfway through, the buyer just backed out for some reason. He was just like, he called me up one day, and this was like, I could remember myself shopping online, because this is like around December, so I didn't get the check yet, and I know Christmas is coming, so I'm shopping online. Maybe I can get like a little bit of an advance. He calls me up and he's like, hey Sam, you know, like I don't know, like this is not the property for me. And I had to literally spend at least 2 hours with him, just like working out the mortgage, working out the rental income, things of that nature. And it really worked after maybe about 3 hours. He just said, you know what, I'm just going to believe in you. I believe in the lender that I'm working with, who's communicating with me very nicely. And just things just worked. So, but I will say that what I did learn is, even if you get that check, you got to save.
Yeah.
Like that check can last, it's supposed to last you at least 3 months. Like for me, I had to stretch it out as much as possible. But that was definitely my first real estate deal, and it taught me a bunch.
That's what's up, man. Danny, before I start with you on how you got introduced into the real estate, I just want to know, is it because you were with a private lender or private broker? That's probably why, compared to him being with a established company already, that the process was probably a lot smoother? Is because that is, you know, compared to being a private, you're always going to go with a name or a brand or an institution that has some credit behind it versus an independent broker. You think that's probably the case?
I definitely feel that it played a role.
Okay.
In regards to, what Sam mentioned was that he was able to get on that phone and he was able to instill that confidence back into his buyer. And I don't feel, at the time I was brand new, not having that support or that name behind me, that brand behind me, I felt like affected that deal, in a sense.
Okay.
And then, ultimately just like this, because this was my first deal, not really understanding how to take that approach to help to build that confidence with them. One of the things that I've learned over the past couple of years, especially when it comes to real estate, is that there's an emotional aspect for your buyer. Right? As agents, we're just looking at it as a transaction. But I had to learn, take a step back and realize that they're getting ready to make one of the big purchase. It's a big purchase,
Right.
At the time, 2015, the property I think was like $469. In today's dollars now, it would be worth maybe about over $500,000. I think that not having that support,
or that security, that comfort, that he established.
Exactly. And that definitely played a role.
Yeah. Danny, introduce us to your first initial walkthrough to the real estate game.
All right, so me coming into real estate, it's only right that I go last because I'm the most junior agent here.
Exactly.
But I mean, it really started, I would say, in graduate school at Iona College. I had to do a project with commercial real estate, and basically I did the project. Basically, learned about top 5 commercial real estate companies that's doing well in the industry, and it kind of like I got keen to okay, maybe I could do this. But then COVID happened. Well, fast forward from graduate school, COVID happened in March 2020. Left my previous job, and during that time, I started to like, all right, maybe I should really start this real estate course. I should, start the process. And when it got to, I would say like June, July, that's when I really like dove in. I said, let me look for a school. I went with Real Estate Express, started the course. I really want to kind of tell you about the course as well. Like Real Estate Express, the school, it was a little rigorous, I would say. It wasn't too crazy, like it's not graduate, like it's not
right.
In that sense. But I wasn't really devoting so much time to it. And during the first 2 tries, I would say I failed the test for the school.
Right. So it's not like a walk-on type of thing that you have to study.
You have to study. You definitely have to study.
Yeah.
So I was happy that I was able to pass. And then in December, I took the state test, drove all the way to Albany, because I was looking for any of the sites to see when a test was available. The only availability was in Albany. So I drove all the way to Albany. One and done.
That's what's up,
one and done.
yeah.
And it was like my Christmas gift, honestly. It's new start, new year. Got in December 29. And I also, during that process, I was looking for, I would say, companies. I didn't really want to get into one of those grandfather companies. Like I don't want to say the names, but there's some grandfather companies out there. I wanted something that was going to be new, trendy, and like out there, I would say. So I did my research. I looked at Corcoran, I looked at Douglas Elliman, I looked at Nest Seekers, I looked at Compass, and I thought they were one of the top 5s that's doing great in the business. So I reached out via LinkedIn to multiple leads, I would say, leaders and recruiters maybe in that sense. And Nest Seekers, actually, I have to say Paul Sobrano, he reached out to me, had an interview with him, and he liked what I had to offer and like my resume, and I got branched into Nest Seekers. It's a great company to work for, and I've seen that I made a transition from Soho to go to Brooklyn, just strategically, just to know your market. You have to know your market. So I made that move from Soho to Manhattan to Brooklyn, and hopefully down the line I'll be back and focus in Manhattan. But right now, the focus is Brooklyn. I'm the Duke of Brooklyn, if you guys didn't know. Follow me on Instagram at Duke of Brooklyn. But, real estate, I would say that's how I kind of got into the game. And I was very fortunate to pair up. And I know you had Sarah Golan on the show in the past. And I was very fortunate to be under her wing. And she's showing me the ropes. And it's going good. I got most of the deals I'm working with her that I have. Some of the listings, I'm working with properties in Queens, I'm working with properties in East New York, working properties in downtown Brooklyn, rentals in Bushwick. We're one of
everywhere.
And that's what Nest Seekers' mission. Like, we're everywhere. Like, that's their motto. We're everywhere. In Beverly Hills, we're in Long Island, we're the Hamptons, Portugal, London, and those are the things that I kind of wanted to be a part of because, as my previous employer, I used to work for Delta Airlines, love to travel. So, being that we can be global with Nest Seekers, it's something that's already instilled in me. I already have it. I have that in me, and real estate is going really good. But I know that we have a lot more to talk about.
Right. Yeah.
Because I'm ready to get into the highs and the lows of real estate.
Yeah, and that's what I want to touch on because I know the flip side, like, you didn't have your first success. I mean, your first time around, you didn't have a great success. You didn't have any success, but you did learn from it.
I did.
Right? As Samuels, he had success, right? 20K out the gate, right? But I'm pretty sure you didn't have multiple success after that. You had to have some kind of struggles after that.
Yeah, it was.
So
it was,
you pointed out you pointed out that you needed to save.
Mm-hmm.
Did you run through that money? That's why you realized you needed to save?
That same friend that put me onto the brokerage, as soon as I got my check, he was like, "Yo, we gotta go celebrate."
I do, definitely do.
And we did. We celebrated a few times, and after a certain point, I was like, "Oh no, I see how fast this money can go." So, I really dialed back, and I spoke to my wife, and I said, "Hey, how are we gonna divvy up this fund so I can really focus on the next deal without having to worry about what's going on within my four walls?" You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it definitely takes a lot of discipline to say, I have this bulk of money, but I got to think about taxes.
Right.
I got to think about like groceries for the next few months. I got to think about the smaller things like gas. It's just, there's so many things to say, okay, let me stop, pause, and save before I just go splurge, you know?
Yeah. And Eve, when you started to really get the hang of things, all right, like, how did you bounce back from that hurt?
So, all right, so I didn't finish the story, right?
Okay.
So there's more to it.
Yeah.
So after that first deal flopped, I would say maybe about a week later, I get a phone call from, I guess like I have like a small church I used to go to. Everybody kind of knows everybody, and the word started spreading like, oh, man, he's in real estate. So one of my my first client, deal flopped. One of her friends reaches out to me maybe about a week later and tells me like, hey, listen, you know what? Me and my siblings, we're pairing up. We want to buy a multifamily in Canarsie, Brooklyn. I'm like, all right, cool, I got you. Mm-hmm. We started a search. We went to, I think it might have been like, I legit showed one property. It was one property. It's 968 East 79th Street or East 77th Street. Mm-hmm. Submitted an offer. Well, I'm sorry. They toured the place. They toured the property, submitted an offer, got the offer accepted. 3 months later, we closed.
Oh wow, that's a good feeling.
So there is,
there is a rainbow. Right?
Yes, yeah.
There's light at the end.
Exactly, there is some light at the end of the tunnel. So even though that first deal flopped, I was able to get a referral from that client, and I was able to close on a deal a couple months later. It didn't make $20K. It was $12K net. Mm-hmm. So I think it was like 18 that came to the brokers. After the split, your broker eats a little bit. So I walked away with $12,000.
Okay, that's still good.
Which is great, right? Because I walked in the house like literally, I kicked down the door. I was like, hey, look at this check. It's my first real estate check, man.
Yeah, when you think about it, 12 in 3 months?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all. I did spend it a little bit differently though, because at that time, my wife and I, we were expecting. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, damn, I can't really do anything with this money. Well, not yet at least. So I had to save a little bit because I knew that, all right, she's not going to be working for a while. But it still felt good that, I was able to bring that check. But another gem that that came out of that deal was that I connected really well with the lender. And the lender, her name is Veronica with Meadowbrook, Meadowbrook Mortgage. She reached out to me. She's like, listen, man, I really like the way you work. I really enjoyed working with you. I like the way that you took care of your clients. She's like, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna connect you with another buyer.
That's big. I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
and a lender connecting.
Yes, and that was pivotal because she connected me with she kept connecting me with different clients, and out of that, I mean, for 2016, I closed on 3 more deals, just because of her. Yeah. Just because of the fact that she had faith within me, and she was happy with the way that I closed the first deal. She just kept sending me people. I mean, some of them didn't pan out. Some of them, they may have entered the market and they weren't quite sure where they wanted to be. But a couple of them, they connected. Yeah,
they connected.
Yeah, and I can say that was the upside from that first deal. And from that first deal, I never really took it as a loss. I took it as a lesson. I learned from that. It taught me to manage the expectations of my clients from the front end, right? And what I mean by that is, essentially having enough knowledge of the market and preparing them for that. Preparing them for multiple bid offers, preparing them for, hey, you know what? You're buying in New York. You're typically buying as is, right? Preparing them for the only real issues that sellers are going to maybe take care of is if it's a plumbing issue, heating, electric, and a roofing issue. And roofing issue, like, it has to be like a leak, a legit leak, for them to even really be able to, address it. If it's not, if it's just like flashing or warp, they're not going to take care of it. So it was just going into my future deals and understanding how to prepare my clients. And that's how I was able to find much more success, from that first deal.
Yeah. Why is it important to have a great relationship with the lender for you guys? Like, I'm gonna give you a quick story. My wife and I, we were shopping around, and we came across a lender. We went through 3 different lenders, and finally we went to the third one, who was more efficient. He was like on it compared to the other ones, right? But because he was so on it, we were really ready to refer him to other people. It got to the point where the realtor was like, well, the realtor didn't like his assertiveness, because he was like really aggressive. But she respected him after a while. She's like, yo, he's getting shit done. Like, he's knocking it out. To that point, she wanted to refer him. Like, so why is it important to have a good relationship with the lenders?
You want to take this one?
Yeah.
I would say that. I mean, I'm gonna answer that question, but I want to talk about this experience where I recently just met this lender who just appeared at my open house. I don't know if you guys ever had that.
Of course, yeah, multiple times.
But it's like, if you're going to, like, how the energy was kind of off. If you're gonna look to try to establish a relationship with me, who are possibly, I'm hosting an open house, direct buyers are coming in, and you don't know if they're pre-approved. You want to establish a relationship with me so I can probably feed off these direct buyers. Hey, they're not pre-approved, but hey, can you get them pre-approved? I look at it like it has to come off genuine. It shouldn't come as like a shark attack. It shouldn't be like, there's always a hunger, but it's a way to do things. So I think relationship, like energy, I'm very like first impression. I'm very big on first impression. And with me, if you're going to try to establish a relationship with me and it's like off, I think it's a done deal, especially if you're trying to establish yourself in this marketplace. But then I think it is to answer your question about, developing relationship with lenders. People come in, they want to buy a house. Well, they want to buy a house, they go to a bank. They go to Chase, they go to one of these local banks, conventional banks, to get a loan. And, they come in to deal with a mortgage banker. And the mortgage banker usually, they could just ship them out. And, all right, thank you. You came in, I got I got the pre-approval, and that's it. But how about them saying, oh, you're pre-approved for this amount. I have this great real estate agent that works for Nest Seekers who can help you out with the process of buying a house because you're a first-time home buyer. So I look at it like that. It's not like, all right, you create that relationship with them so they can branch off business to you. And that's how I would say that's the importance on that.
To add to that, I just want to say that working on any deal, whether it's on the buyer side or even on the seller side, you're always working as a team, right? You live and die by your attorney,
that's true,
inspector, and the lender. If your lender sucks, or if your lender is just, if your lender is a one-man show, a one-woman show, and they're typically managing all of their clients by themselves, and they're hard to get in touch with. They're, you can't reach them. You email them, you text them, you call them, and you can't get in touch. It's not the lender to work with, right? And a lot of the times, to what you were saying, Daniel, a lot of the times people think that just because they have a relationship with their bank, you know, that being JP Morgan, Citibank, Bank of America, they think that, oh, I got a checking account here. You know, my direct deposit's going in there. I could just walk in, yo, let me talk to a banker and then, you know, get me pre-approved. Just because you have an account there or you have a relationship doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get that same energy when it's time to sit down with a banker.
Right.
Working as an agent on the buyer side, any deal that I go into, I always remember time is of the essence.
Correct.
Right. So initially, you want to make sure that your banker is able to provide the pre-approval. You want to make sure that your banker is able to provide, you know, a commitment letter. You want to make sure that they're on it. They're on it because buyers can, in a sense, sometimes again they can be emotional.
Yeah.
So you want to make not emotional. Sorry. Sometimes they can. I don't even know what the word is for it, but you want to make sure that they're not losing confidence.
Right.
So you want to make sure that, you know, the banker that you're working with, especially when it comes to getting the funding to be able to purchase a home, you want to make sure that the banker knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, they're sitting down with the client and then they're going through the numbers, they're explaining everything. So I think it's extremely important to have that relationship with the right banker that you fit well with, that's able to work with your clients.
I agree. I think it's a frustrating situation where you constantly have to repeat, right? They'll ask you for one thing and you think everything is fine, then boom, it goes to underwriting. Underwriting wants something else, right?
Yeah.
And then when you think you're about to close and all of a sudden they push back the date because either the title company is not ready or somebody else is not ready. So the process alone is a frustrating process. But how were you able to make you know, that guy calm or that situation work in your favor?
Because I was close to the lender. Like I said, with my brokerage, everything is in-house. So calling up the lender and saying, hey, how's the loan going, or how's the buyer feeling when you speak to him, just that's not a hard thing to do for me. It's not a hard thing to get in contact with them. It wasn't a difficult moment to talk about the appraisal, which is a thing that we didn't talk about. Lenders, they play a big part in ordering that appraisal and making sure that gets done the right way. Certain banks like Bank of America, Chase, they order appraisals, and the individuals they might pick to do the appraisal might not know the area as well as certain banks that we have locally, like Nationwide, or so another bank that I work with is Federal Savings Bank and Intercontinental. So it was important for me to work with this lender and say, hey, if we get this house and we put this offer up, are you sure that it's going to appraise for this price? And for me, I already did the comps and I was sure about it. And, you know, she assured me that, hey, like, don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. So going into the process with it was really 1, 2, 3. And then even talking about the mortgage with the client, she was really calm and collected whenever she spoke about it. You know, talking about a mortgage is even if it's a low mortgage in what it could regularly be, it's not an easy thing to talk about for the buyer. You know, you're spending thousands of dollars every month. So for the lender to break down the mortgage to him and say, hey, I'm giving you this percentage. If you were to go anywhere else and get a lower percentage, I'll match it. The credit score that you're giving me, I'm maximizing it as much as possible. It was just comforting all around. So yeah, that's definitely the reason why I was able to.
Can a lender, could you touch on something? Can a lender like overvalue a property on an appraisal or undervalue it?
It's about the appraiser.
Okay.
It's the person who they pick for the appraiser. So like I said, certain banks like Bank of America,
but don't some of them have like an in-house?
They do. Again, I've never worked with them.
Okay.
I just know that from some of the deals that I've seen go awry and just like fall out of complete place, it's been typically because of that, an appraisal, where it's like the appraisal comes back low and the buyer doesn't have the funds to now, you know, pay the difference, and it just messes up the whole deal.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, at one point appraisers were working in-house with the bankers, but you know now that's changed.
Yeah.
So appraisal
conflict of interest.
Yeah, absolutely. So now appraisal companies are independent contractors who will usually be reached out to by the lender to submit an order for an appraisal. They'll come out. Usually appraisers already have an idea of what they're going to appraise before they get there. They've already done the research. They've already found all the information in terms of a property is all made public now. So they come, like you said, Sam, they're pulling up the comps. They're looking at different properties within the area with a similar composition, and then they are pulling together that report to essentially appraise the property. Now, of course, you never want to. Buyers never want to be in a position where they underappraise.
Right.
And I kind of feel like that's where, as an agent, that's where we come in, because from on the very beginning, if you're working with a buyer, we should be able to make sure that if we're submitting offers, we should pull a market survey of that neighborhood, just to kind of get an idea of of what closed in the past 30 to 60 days, what's currently on the market. You kind of want to make sure you understand the story of that neighborhood before your client is able to submit an offer. Not to say that every opportunity will be perfect, but the more you know about a neighborhood before you submit that offer allows you to be able to put your client in a position where they're not overpaying, over leveraging, as well as having to worry about an appraisal coming in under the offer price.
The offer price, yeah. That's what's up, man. Listen, I want to. There's some more questions I have in mind, but before I'm gonna circle back, because I'm looking at it as a buyer, and I'm coming into one of you guys, and I say I'm looking for, a rental property, or I'm looking for a single unit, maybe I could possibly rent it out. I don't know. I have all these thoughts in mind. When as a buyer, when they come to you, and you being the agent, do you recommend certain things? Do you break down, like, okay, explain to me your finances and let's see what's the best option for you? Like, do you tell them, listen, I think getting a 4-unit would probably be better for you, even though they might have their dream house and it probably doesn't make sense? Because sometimes you could have a dream house in mind, but you can't really afford it, right? But then do you suggest, hey, maybe you could afford this 4-unit and use the income from those units as an opportunity to increase your debt to ratio, so that way you could afford that property and get some money back? Do you guys break that down for them, or do you guys just go by what they're feeling?
I think, honestly, at the end of the day, I think personally for me, I would put myself in their shoes, but at the end of the day, we're still, like, as a real estate agent, we're still advisors as well. We have to advise them the right way to go about things. Although they might want the house in Canarsie that is $1 million, but we have to look at what they're pre-approved for. We have to look at what the
Go ahead.
What everything calls for as in pre-approval. Pre-approval is going to be our schedule, honestly, of how we can go about and advising them, and then also looking at comps in the neighborhood to see what what's price per square foot is going in different markets, or what different houses come. Every house is unique, so the differentiation, the variations of certain features of the house is what I would say also brings down to how we advise them.
Okay. Now, like, let's touch on, like, the bad parts of real estate, because there's some lows, right? So,
definitely.
Which
definitely.
Who wants to take it on as far as the lows?
In terms of just the process of home,
the process, or in terms of being an agent.
Can I say it could be exhausting. I'm going through it. They know I'm going through something where it's like, with the buyer, I'm working with a buyer. I've been mostly a seller's agent. I've been dealing with the seller and selling homes.
Right.
But now I have this direct buyer, and the buyer can't make up her mind, basically. We've seen more than 12 houses already, and it's like, we need to, there's so many houses that we've seen. I'm like, this will be a good fit for you. But it's like, how do I drive her to, all right, let's put an offer into this house. But then it could be now every real estate agent fear is the buyer's dad. A buyer's dad can help deviate a deal, or like, hey, this is the right house for you. So we come into a lot of woes.
I think it's just more about having more than one person in the decision making process. So you can work, you can be a buyer's agent and work directly with one person, but then that's not the only person moving into the house. They have their mother, they have a brother, they have a sister, a father.
So is it best to have all of them there together?
I would say on occasion it is, but not everybody's going to be, available at that certain time to go see this house. And even if you can take videos, and no, we still got to come back and see this house. And when they do, maybe the mom just thinks, I don't got enough closet space. Where's my shoes going to go? The dad says, hey, like, there's too much work that needs to be done. Maybe the son says, I don't have enough room. Like, there's just so many people that can be in the decision-making process. It just makes it very strenuous.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And ultimately, I think it goes back to understanding what are their goals, right? Because you're always going to have that. You're always going to have, like, I don't have enough closet space. I don't have, the kitchen is not facing east, and I want to be able to see the sunset.
You know what I mean? No windows in the kitchen.
I've heard that specifically.
I've heard that.
I'm telling you, and you're always going to have that, but I always feel like it's really important to discuss what are their real estate goals from before to help them to have them understand, like, listen, man, you're buying in New York. You're buying in New York, especially right now. You guys, it's a seller's market. So much inventory out there. But if your goal is to purchase and gain equity, if it's to cash flow, whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're not just stuck in the accoutrements of the property, right? You want to make sure you're looking at the location. You want to make sure, like, is it close to the train that you might need to get to work?
Correct.
Is it in a school district that you might want to be in for your for your children? So I just kind of feel like it's just a matter of helping them shift the mindset a little bit, right? And not getting so stuck into, the closet's not big enough. It's New York. You're never gonna have enough closet
doing
space.
the trade-off, like you just said, but doing the trade-off, saying, okay, the closet may not fit, but it's the best school system. Like giving that trade-off so that way they can feel, oh yeah, that's true, that's a good point. I could sacrifice this for that.
But some clients don't even want to hear that, and you can walk a client holding their hand through the whole process. But just like there's 3 agents sitting here, there might be like 5 other agents talking in their ear saying, hey, I can get you this property. I can get you what you want. You can be walking them across the street. Hey, let's make the light. Hey, we got to do this. But there's another agent. Hey, I got this for you. I can do this for you.
There's a faster way.
Exactly. So if you don't have an exclusive agreement with your buyer, it's kind of like everything is up in the air. If you can talk to them on the phone for an hour and say, hey, I think this is the property for you. They can agree, and things can sound all good, but then maybe the next day they say, oh no, I had this other agent that I was working with, they showed me a property, I liked it, and we just put up an offer and it got accepted. And things can happen just like that.
Wow.
Sam is actually right. So I've been working with this client, I would say maybe like the past 2 years. On and off. Actually, Sam had a listing out in Queens, reached out to him, and we brought her over to the house, right? Like Sam said, like literally, like it was an unfinished project, granted. However, with Keystone, like I already knew what the property is going to look like after. I even shared other completed projects that they have that they've had in their pipeline, just so that way she can get an idea of the finishes. Walk through the property. I'm like, listen, this has everything you want.
Right.
It's a 2-family. I think it was a 2-over-2. The basement's gonna be finished. There's a backyard. Everything.
Right.
Right. It was a little outside of the neighborhood she wanted to be in. I think we were there for maybe an hour, just trying to convince her, like, hey, listen, this has everything that you would want, and within the price point, and you'll have the cash flow because you'll be able to have tenants, and you'll be like she'll be in a position where she's able to submit the offer before anybody, has the opportunity to even, tour the property.
Right.
Man, essentially she's like, yeah, I'll think about it. Got home, she's like, Emmanuel, Emmanuel. He was like, anyway, she was like, no, that's not for me. I was like, all right, cool, I get it. You know, I'm extremely patient when it comes to that. However, to what Sam was saying, she has like, what she'll do is, especially now, you know, now real estate with real estate, technology is integrated within real estate, right? You have all of these different platforms. You have Zillow, Trulia, all these different MLSs, right? One of the biggest challenges that I have with her is that she'll go on, let's say Trulia, and then, you know, Trulia is never accurate. Right. You'll Trulia will have you thinking that a property is on the market, but it's not. Right. So she'll reach out on her own. She'll get, you know, a call back, you know, from a buyer's agent. She thinks is the listing agent. The agent will talk to her. They'll send her 5 listings out of, you know, I guess in a sense of a little bit of loyalty in a sense, or just the fact that, you know, she trusts me. She trusts me. She'll send me the listings. She'll say, hey, Emmanuel, this other agent sent me 5 listings. Take a look at these. And I'm like, where did you get these from? I was like, first, let's take a step back. Explain to me, where did you get? Oh, the agent sent me the listings. I'm like, all right, I'll indulge you. Yeah. I'll go through the list. Off market, not available. The property comes fully occupied. There's tenants, they're not leaving. And I'm like, and I'll explain to her, and I'm like, listen, I get it. Yeah. I want to find that home for you, but before I send you a listing, I'm going to vet that listing. I'm going to make sure that it's on the market. I'm going to make sure that it's going to come vacant. It's not going to come, you know, it's not going to come occupied with other tenants. Yeah. I'm going to do all of that before I even send it to you.
Because your name is on the line.
Exactly. This other agent or 2 other agents, whoever you're speaking to, they're just pumping you. They're just sending you listings in a sense just to make you happy. But when you send them to me, I look through them. I'm like, come on. I did that once. I was like, we can't do this. I told her, I was like, listen, if you want me to work as your buyer's agent, let me do the due diligence. It's my job. Let me search through the listings. Let me vet them out. Let me do the due diligence. So that way you're not wasting your time. Don't have these agents just sending you listings just because, and then when you send them over to me, they're all duds.
Before you continue, let's make a cheers to that, because you're right about that, man.
I gotta fill up my cup.
Go ahead, fill up, man. Because you're right about that, man. That's a lot of us are impatient. We're impatient, especially if we know that we're gonna put down 20%, because seldomly you're gonna get somebody that's gonna be able to do. I mean, yeah, you can with these programs that's available, but for the most part, a lot of people put down 20%, and it's a lot of money, man. And you become impatient. You want what you want because you know that you're probably going to have it for the next 30 years. So I understand, but how you broke it down was valid because that's what you're getting paid for. You're getting paid to do your job.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I respect that. But you got something to say?
No, I was gonna say it's really just about being upfront with your client and just saying, hey, like, I'm giving you the bottom line truth. And if they can't, you know, take that as an honesty and your integrity at the end of the day, it's like, I wouldn't want to even deal with the client who can't take that, because they're gonna have me staying up at night. I can't be staying up at night feeling like I've been working with you for 2 months and
anxiety, because you're another person.
Constant anxiety. It's constant. I
want to say this. I mean, I also want to ask you guys. Probably people have this question too. Like, although we're doing the due diligence, and I'm not saying that we don't have time, but it's always good to schedule time and manage your time. Right. But sometimes I would say something like I'm going through is like, I feel like I want to manage expectation. I have so much, I would say, balls in the air. You throwing balls, that means like there's deals or, you know, there's things that's going. And sometimes I do feel like one of my buyers, I don't have the time for them. So do you even feel like, you know, like with the buyer that send you all those things, is it because I have buyers that send me listings as well, and I'm happy she sends them, but then I'm like, hold on, I could do this. But it's also helpful to kind of say, all right, she kind of did the job for me, but I want to say that because I'm dealing with I have 2 listings I'm trying to sell. I have rentals that I'm trying to rent out, and I want to make sure that I give her the time. And sometimes I don't feel like I have the time to even.
Is it that you just don't have the bandwidth? Because sometimes, because we can always make time, but it's what we value that we think is important. And if this is important, we may not have enough bandwidth to take care of other stuff because this is priority, right? This comes first. You know, so we could always, there's always an opportunity to make time, but it's all depend on is it priority? Does it make sense to do that? So you may not have the bandwidth because you have a lot of things that's priority on your plate. So that could be a struggle.
That. It could definitely be that. But I would say for sure, I know for sure for myself, me into this still under a year of in real estate, I'm working on. I would say even you guys know from my previous job, like we manage time, and I thought I got it, but no, you really gotta manage your time, and account for this, account for this. The scheduling, the calendar works amazing, but then it's like managing the time at the end of the day. People don't think that. They think they see what reality TV shows are, and it's like it's the glitz and glam, but it's not really like that. It's grit and grind.
Waking up I try to wake up every day around 5 o'clock. I'll wake up at 5 o'clock. I'll take about 30 minutes to just look at what I have on my whiteboard. I'll just scan it really quickly, and then I'll get ready to take my son to school. I'll take my wife to work, and then after that's done, it's just go time. And then for me, once I realize, okay, my schedule is set for the day, I have a bit of peace in my mind where I feel like, okay, even if this doesn't go as planned, I can say that, hey, I set things up for success. If I wasn't successful for the day in a sense of things didn't pan out the way I wanted to, I can still say, hey, there's another day to still do this.
Not only that, but you have control.
Exactly.
You have control of the situation, right? I totally agree, because when my calendar is set all the way down to like what I'm going to do at this time, what I'm going to do at that time, even down to the commute time. It's going to take me 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes to commute, but I lock that in. It takes away the areas of distraction to come in. Right? Because now I won't be bothered by distractions because my thing is already outlined, right? It's accounted for, like you said. So once it's outlined, it's a lot easier for me to be like, okay, I can't be distracted right now. I got to focus.
And I realize that clients respect that. Clients really respect the fact that, hey, like, it's a business that you're doing. Like, at the end of the day, you can go see 40 different agents and they can probably tell you the same thing that I'm saying, but I'm providing a service to you that you're not going to get anywhere else.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's really about. So
clients are looking at it this way. And I've learned this as a leader, I can't lead you if I can't lead myself.
Exactly.
If I can't manage myself, how can I manage someone else? So if a client is looking at it from, if you can't manage your time, how much faith will I have in you to manage my situation when you're barely struggling, right? If you're always constantly late or you're not corresponding correctly with the emails, it makes me feel like, hold up, how can I trust you to do this if you can't even manage your own self? So that's the way I looked at it when we was doing house shopping. It's because I have an expectation, but that expectation comes from me being responsible for myself. Right? I know that I will delegate this to somebody, in this case an agent or somebody. But if I feel like I'm not getting the response, or I'm not getting the communication, or I'm not getting the proper information, then I take back hold of the situation. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to somebody else that can do that. And that's what clients see when they see you like handling your business and being on time, answering the emails. It doesn't have to be right away, but it should be before the day ends. It shouldn't be like the next 2 days, 3 days. Then after a while, it's like, how can I trust you to deliver?
I think on that part, like even with the buyer that I was talking about right now, she always tells me like, "Dan, you're a go-getter, you're grinding," and I feel like I'm underperforming, and she's like, "Yeah, you got this, like you killing it, you sending me listings left and right." I'm just like, I don't think so, because it's like,
But imagine who she's dealing with.
yeah,
You gotta look at it from that perspective. Right? Through her lens, she probably had somebody that was horrible.
yeah.
And
true.
you just took it an extra mile. You
upgrade.
You just right to her, like, man, you killing it. Even though you know, and that's a great thing, that you know that you could go harder.
Yeah.
That's always an amazing thing when you know that. You're not settling.
Yeah.
But in her eyes, she probably had somebody that was horrible, and you coming along and you doing like maybe even 2 things better than the next person. But in her eyes, that's a lot.
Well, my question to you is, why do you feel that you're not meeting those? Like, why do you feel that way?
I feel like my bar is set so high. Like my bar is through the roof, and it's just like that's who I am as a person. And you know, I'm just one person. I'm one person, but I feel like I have to overextend left and right. Like
that's that
like
hustle culture, man.
And I'm like the what do you call it, Inspector Gadget, you know?
It's also about just like what you're seeing, because I try to filter a lot of the things that I see on social media now. Like when I started out real estate, so I started following a bunch of real estate pages, a bunch of motivational pages, and I felt like I was set. And okay, when I get on my feed, I'll see a bunch of things that are gonna maybe set me for the day, or maybe take my mind to a place where I'm focused. But I didn't realize I still got a few hundred followers where I'm like, I don't even know what kind of nonsense is on my feed. But I realized that even with the real estate agents that I was following, they were posting a lot of things that named success, and I was putting myself at that same level, saying, okay, they're doing this, so I should be doing the same thing. Like I have to set the bar for myself so high that I feel like I can be there the next day or the next month. But I realize that you're not really seeing the back end, you know?
And that's what I was getting at. Because, you know, like you said, a lot of the times when you're on social media, you know, we find ourselves comparing ourselves to a lot of those, you know, $1 million, you know, agents, or, you know, they're producing the content, they're doing this, and it seems like they're Superman or Superwoman, and we're comparing ourselves to them, and then it makes us feel like what we're doing is inferior. And, you know, one of the things that, you know, even for myself that I had to learn was, I'm like, yo, man, because I felt like that before, where I'm like, man, like, all the other agents out here closing deals, and what am I doing? You know, and I had to, and you know, my current broker, Abdul with Ivey North, and you know, he's like, no, Emmanuel, like, you're doing great things. He's like, you gotta like realize, look into what you're doing. Right. He's like, understand
count your blessings.
He's like, understand you as an agent, and understand what you're bringing to the game, right? And at this time, I had a exclusive commercial list, and I'm like, man, that's not enough, man. You know, I'm working with a client, you know, he's, you know, searching for a multifamily property in Brooklyn. I'm like, yo, that's not enough, man. You know what I'm saying? And I had little things.
And meanwhile, you had all these things on your plate.
Yeah. And then I'm still like, nah, I'm inadequate. Like, nah, like, I should be doing more. But it's because I'm going on Instagram, and I'm looking at all these other agents, and I'm like, damn, like, yo, they close another deal? I'm like, oh, man, I gotta go back to the drawing board. I got more work to do. But then I had to realize, I'm like, no, like, you're doing great, you're doing well in what you're doing. You know, and he had to teach me, he had to remind me, he told me, like, listen, you got this commercial exclusive listing. He's like, all right, cool, work the mess out of that. Like, you know, push it, work it. And then, you know, when you get it leased, he's like, turn that around, you know, send mailers out to the people in the community. Let them know what you're doing. And then, you know, and the other thing that he had to teach me was, he reminded me of where you putting your energy, right? Where you putting your energy. Because as an agent, it's almost as if we're waiting for that bat signal in the sky, like, you know, yo, another listing, another buyer. You know, we're always waiting for that call. And he's like, you have to understand who you are as an individual, and then understand where you put in your energy, and things will come.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. Yeah.
And it's tough.
It is tough. That's the highs and lows. Go ahead, Sam.
I have a question for y'all. So how do you set the bar for yourself? What do you see as success throughout the week or for a day? Like, how do you know, okay, I go home and I was successful today, or I ended the work week and I feel like I'm successful at the end of Sunday?
You know what's funny? Every week that changes for me, right? One of the things that I've had to make sure that I made sure this past year was that I had to make sure that I embedded the business of real estate, and I needed to incorporate family within that, right? You know, for me that varies, right? For me, I like to make sure that whatever it is that I'm doing in real estate is convenient for me, and then I'm also able to you'll get that done, get back to family, because family over everything, right? Because I have a wife, I have a 5-year-old daughter, so for me, success, you know, at one point it was like, yo, I gotta close on, you know, on $1 million listing, or I have to have, you know, multiple exclusive listings. Sometimes I may have that. Right now, you know, don't get me wrong, I have businesses coming in, but right now, what success looks like for me is this, right? Being able to have this conversation, right? Being able to be productive in a sense, right? If I had, you know, 10 items on my calendar, listen, if I knocked all 10 out, or if I knocked 9 out of the 10 out, that's successful for me. You know what I mean? And it varies, you know, week by week, day by day. I like to make sure that, like right now, I have one client. We closed on a property back in June. It was a 3-family in Brighton Beach, and people, you know, the first phase was closing on that property. Second phase is leasing out the units. So right now I have one completely leased, one pending, and I'm having a little bit of a challenge with the walk-in or basement unit. And you know, I'll get people that'll come in and they're like, hey, you know, do you have any other listings, or do you have, you know, can you show me anything else? And part of me is like, yeah, you know, whatever you need, like I got you. But for me, I want to make sure that this relationship that I have with this client is long term. Is much more than just getting the deal done. I want to make sure that I, you know, that I take care of this with reasonable care. So I tell them all the time, like, listen, man, this is the only exclusive, and this is for me personally, but this is the exclusive listing that I have right now. I need to make sure that I'm giving this man 110% to lease out these units, and then I'll move on to my next project. Lord willing, if it comes. But my thing for me was, you know, that's what success looks like for me.
Can we cheers to success?
Absolutely. I want to echo something though. I think a lot of us confuse being active for being productive. All right. A lot of us confuse that being active as the same as being productive. All right. And we think there's some kind of success in there. And what I realized when I start writing down the things I need to do for the day, I take out I gotta do the laundry, I gotta clean out. I take that out because that's not being productive. You know, that's not. It's something that you need to do. It's some of the necessities, but it's not gonna further you into the path that you want, right? So a lot of times we waste too much time doing certain things. I don't like doing laundry. I like dropping it off because it saves time, right? That time I could be in the laundry for like 45 minutes to an hour. I could be doing something else that's more productive. So I think we undervalue we undervalue what productivity is because we overvalue moving around as something as important. Because we're moving around, we feel like we're being productive, and that's not the truth. That's not the truth. The real truth is you're being productive if whatever you're doing is moving the needle closer to your goal. And that's what we should be focusing on.
Absolutely. Sometimes I almost feel like we get into the laundry or certain day-to-day tasks, and we're really running away from where we really
we're deflecting.
Need to be.
That's what we're doing. We know what we need to do. But then we find like, oh, the house needs cleaning. Oh, I got to do the laundry. oh, you know what, this came up, and all we're doing is deflecting because we know there's something more important that requires our time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then instead of us doing that, we find all these other excuses. You know why? We're comfortable in that.
Yeah. Because we know it.
We know it. You know, like, all right, you may not like doing the dishes, you may not like cleaning out, but you know that, all right, I can knock this out real quick, versus the thing that you need to do is going to require time.
And the biggest thing is nobody's setting our schedule.
No.
We have to set our schedule.
Yeah.
We have to understand, okay, what are you doing today to make yourself successful for the next day?
Right.
So it's just like setting your own schedule for me was daunting at first, but I really learned how to just say, okay, my cutoff time is maybe 8 o'clock. Like, my wife will murder me if I pick my phone up at 9 o'clock.
Right,
you know,
right.
if I start working a little bit too early, I might burn myself out too early, and I don't want to work past maybe 5 o'clock. So it's really understanding your own body
And your pace.
Yeah, your pace. That's the word exactly. Yeah.
I would say to touch on that, I mean, I think for those who's out there looking to get into real estate as well, it's just like you have to have that hunger in you to get up. Like as you said, like sometimes I get up at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., go to the gym. I think going to the gym really helps me on a schedule in the morning. But then you have to manage how you go about your day. And, you know, if you don't get up, miss up an opportunity. Opportunity is there. It's knocking on your door every day. You just gotta get up.
Yeah.
You just gotta get up and, you know, read the trends, what's going on, market trends, and what's new out there, and, you know, looking how you're gonna grow your business. Who you gonna meet today? You know, so it's like those things that you have to take in accordance each and every day, and setting goals, and goals change every day. So I look at it to answer that question when you had asked before. I mean, I think we're about to enter Q4, and I think before the year ends, I want to get exclusive. I would say one direct exclusive deal that me going to a seller a person that's looking to sell their home, and this is my direct exclusive that I put my effort in, their listing pitch, and they went with me instead of any other agent.
Well, let's cheers to that, brother. Yeah, man, to bigger and better things, brother. Salud. Hey, man, this has been awesome. I think we had touched on a lot of things, but we could keep going. But there's a lot more we didn't touch on. But we got to make a part 2 of this. I really appreciate all the feedback and a lot of honesty. Man, it was just like some raw honesty that we don't really get, because when we look at real estate, we always look at the upside of it.
You see a picture.
We see a picture
on the wall.
we see we see the Instagram stories, and it's just, but they only last for a second. Then you got to realize, all right, tomorrow's another day. Right. So I think that this was very helpful and then I hope that everybody appreciate all the honesty and all the feedback. And if you have any questions or if you have some comments, please share it. Share this video, subscribe, and please follow their IG. I'm going to have everything listed below. And it was just awesome, man. I appreciate them taking the time out. We are actually outside of our studio. It was just a nice, beautiful day, and we decided to do it outside on the balcony and have a good time. And I was skeptical at first, but it really turned out well. The crew was the one that convinced me and said, let's do it outside. And they actually, this was great, guys. Thank you again. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, man. Salud.
One more time?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Shout out to the crew.
Shout out to the crew.
I'm glad you listened to the crew, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Good night.
All right.